So I recently had someone message me that they were having trouble tuning their carburetor and they didn't understand the tuning chart or anything that were in their calibration kit. No problem. I've done a couple of videos on that. I sent them some links, figured it was going to be no big deal. They'd have a couple of questions. We'd get them down the road. But that's when things got really stupid. And I'll tell you all about it right now. Yeah, this one's bad. So one of the first questions I usually ask is, do you what the carburetor is? Did you buy the calibration kit in it? Do you understand the tuning chart? Because usually that answers most of the questions that people have. And again, it's not complicated, but until somebody explains it to you, sometimes they get a little bit confusing, and I get that. So I just assumed that that was this situation. But they told me they had a 1407. They had bought the calibration kit. They had downloading the tuning chart off my website. They had everything they needed. They said, but nothing was matching up. They couldn't understand why the number one calibration wasn't right, and everything was just confusing. So I sent them links back to the tuning chart, back to the calibration kit to let them refresh themselves, and said, hey, watch them again, make sure you didn't miss something in it, and then just let me know if you're having problems. So it was a few weeks later, maybe, after going back and forth a couple more times, where he sent me another email. I said, hey, look, this just is not working. Nothing is matching up. The numbers aren't matching up. I said, what was the part number on your calibration kit? Maybe you got the wrong one. And he said it was a ZH05 something. I'm like, what? Edelbrock uses a 4-digit number on their calibration kits. That's it. Send me a link to what you bought. And he did, and it turns out he bought it on Amazon. It was supposed to fit the 1407, and he was right. Nothing matched up with his calibration kit and the chart and the carburetor he was trying to tune. So I said, hang on, let me get you the right link to the right calibration kit. Let's get you started there. But I'm going to buy one of those kits and take a look at it and see what's going on. And I did. It came in yesterday, so we're going to open it up. We're going to take a look at it. So here's the kit. Let's go ahead and open it up. I have no idea what's in here. Like I said, it was just bought directly from Amazon. And, interesting. Well, let's see what's in this thing. I do like how they break that down, but, yeah. I can see some problems right now. Yeah. So that's cool that they put these, in their own little baggies, but here's the, oh, good grief. Okay, before I get started on that, here's the problem. So from the Amazon listing, it says that this carburetor kit fits a 1400, 1404, 1405, 1406, 1407, 1408, 1409, and 1411. That gives the part number of their kit. Okay, well, I didn't really look at any of the details. I just ordered it because it was $15.99, and why wouldn't you, I guess. But there's some problems here, so I'm going to show it to you in a little bit better detail because I think it's important to understand what the difference is between these. So I'll show you that here right now. So here's the issue that we have with that. It says if it's a 1400, that's an emissions carburetor. There is no calibration kit for it. It's designed to not be calibrated. So that was the first red flag. The second one's a 1408. There is no such part number. No such carburetor exists. So, okay. And they list this same ZH052 part number for all of these carburetors, and here's the corresponding Edelbrock part number for those kits. So to break that down even further, I want to show you what's actually included in this kit versus what's all of these kits. So here are all of the rod and jet part numbers that are included in all of those kits that we listed here. And these are the 3 part numbers that come in this lovely Chinese knockoff kit. I don't know how they can list that, fitting all of those carburetors when there's only 3 jet sets and 3 rod sets in there. So that's not even a red flag. That just it's not even going to fit. So I did a little bit more research, and these 3 part numbers looked familiar, or these sizes look familiar to me, and they are. They're out of the 1406. The 1406 kit is only got 3 rods and 3 jets. I'll show you that here right now. So if you look at this sheet, this will tell you of all of the part number calibration kits that fit those carburetors and the numbers of rods and jets that are in each one of them. When you get down to the one that fits the 1406, which is part number 1487, funny how that works, it's a 1487, it's only got 3 rods, 3 jets in it, and 5 step-up springs. The ZH052 Chinese kit has 3 rods, 3 jets. Okay, so maybe they just made a mistake. I doubt it. They're just trying to fish for a wider ocean and get as many carburetors out there to buy these kits. But literally, that kit only fits the 1406. That is his first problem, or multiple problems down the road here now, of why this kit wasn't working in his 1407, because literally none of those rods and jets are included in the 1407. So let's delve into the kit a little bit, because now I want to see what's actually in this thing and see if it's actually worth the 16 bucks I spent on it. Now, I'm not going to read you the entire description, but these here on how to identify the parts is probably the best understanding of what this thing is actually doing here. It says to identify parts, the corresponding model of each part is placed in the corresponding grid, which I am assuming means that it is, yeah. So those there are those, and those are your 3 jets. Those are the springs. Okay, I can buy that. And when you use it, you can identify and use the required parts according to the prompts in the package. Okay, but there's no part numbers on the package, so, well, that's nice. More extra dividers. So, and then the last one here, you don't have to worry about the identification of the part model. Okay, sweet. So let's take a look at these rods and jets and see if we can find any identification on them. Okay, let's look at this first one. It says it's the 070 by 037 rod. So let's see if there's any part numbers on this thing. And identification marks. And there's nothing. So if you happen to drop all these, or you open up the kit, or you drop it, or you forget what's in the carburetor and you need to look for an identification mark, there's none on there. So yeah, that kind of sucks. Let's take a look at the jets. So this is supposed to be the, I'm assuming that means by that part number that that's the .101. And let's see. There is no identifying mark or size. Edelbrock uses the 3-digit size. Yeah. So there's literally no way of telling what size jet that actually is. Wonderful. Well, let's put a mic set of calipers on here. And let's see if we can figure out what these are, because I'm already seeing some more problems here. But yeah, let's get a actual jet, or excuse me, rod of that size, and we'll compare the two and see what they actually are. All right, so let's look at my trusty master calibration kit here, and let's find that it was an 070 by 037. So here we are right here. Here is the Edelbrock ones, and stamped on it is a 4-digit number right here. Very difficult to read, but it says 7037, and that way you know it's a .70 by .37 rod, so you can always identify these by the number that's on it. So let's compare it to what's in that kit. All right, trusty calipers out here, and let's see if we can start confirming some sizes here. Make sure we're zeroed, we're good, make sure we're clean, and we're good. So there's two different sizes on here. You have the 070 and you have the 037. When you can watch the video on how the step up or how the metering rods and the step up springs work, but when you are at full vacuum, the rod is down in the jet and the fatter part of the rod is in there and it restricts the amount of fuel. When vacuum drops in the engine and the rod pulls up, you go to the narrower part of the rod, which gives you more fuel. In this case, this should be a 0.037. So let's verify that on the Edelbrock. We'll lock her down. And that's exactly what it is, 0.037. That is exactly the size of the narrow part of this metering rod. So now let's take a look and see how Mr. Chinese rod here. They look a little similar. It's going to tell here in just a moment. But if we compare them, and it's easy not to screw it up, the Chinese jet's a little longer. Potentially, yeah, for sure. And the transition area doesn't look too bad, but because it's shifted down, that is a problem. But anyway, let's see what we have for size here. Now I was near the middle part of this to the lower part of it. I'm going to take another couple measurements, but we're at 0.040. So, yeah, off by enough that it's going to affect the fueling. Let's take another couple of measurements here and see what happens. Just to make sure. That is about halfway through that area. Let's lock her down. And we have 0.39. Fairly confident that that's good. I've kind of moved that around a little bit to try to get the best measurement, and I think that's it. So I don't want to go too far up on it, but taking two measurements there, it's definitely not the 0.037 like the Edelbrock was, dead on. Yeah, this one's off. So even on a 1406, we're not off to a very good start here. So let's look at the fat area of it, and we'll try again here. So this is the transition. This is the larger point. In this case, I think we said it was supposed to be a 0.70. So I'm going to do it closer to the transition point because those jets aren't that big. All right. And we're dead on, 0.70. So that's good. Let me clear that out. And we'll try again. Maybe just a hair up. Again, the way the jets are, they're not that deep. So we're kind of out of the effective area of this. But we're on there tight. Rock that out of there. And it's 0.70. So the part where you're going to need the most fueling is too big. It's too big of a restriction. It's not the actual calibrated 0.37 that it should be. It was 0.40, 0.4, or 0.39, 0.40. The regular cruising side of things on the 0.70, I would call that where it's supposed to be. So, yeah, the overall length of these things, and I know this isn't very scientific here on my bench, it's been beat to hell, but yeah, even there, I can tell that the Chinese rod is a little bit longer, and what it's doing is it's pushing the transition point down. What that tells me is, depending on where it rides in the jet, oops, I don't want to ruin that because I'll never figure out which size is which. On the jet here, the way it rides in there is even with the spring all the way down, there's only so far the rod can go. It will bottom out in the bottom side of the carburetor. That's why they're very, very calculated, the overall distance and length of the rod. And the piston is going to restrict some of that, but the problem here is I don't know that you're going to get out of that transition. If that's all the way down and it's on the fat side of it, I think what's going to happen is this jet is going to stop right in the transition point. It's just too far down from where it should be, and I think that's going to be a problem. I'll try to zoom in on that so you can see that a little bit better, but yeah. So, yeah, that's a fail right there. I guess I'll put that back in there so I don't lose it. Well, let's take a look at the rest of the kit. Okay, let's look at some other pieces of this. What I don't have is I don't have a bore or a hole gauge to measure these. I'll have to do that. I will leave a in the description below. I will get these measured up the next week or two. Again, we gotta be careful about these things because they're not marked. So those are very very sturdy little dividers there. Anyway, I'll measure that. I'll give you the results down in the description below. Here's the thing with the springs is they have them labeled blue spring, yellow, orange, pink, silver, just like Edelbrock does, but none of these are color coded. They are all natural finish, silver finish, and we've got no way to compare it. These are supposed to be the blue springs, okay, and here is the Edelbrock blue springs, and there's no way I'm going to be able to tell these. I think the only way I will be able to do that is to put them in the carburetor on an engine that's at the appropriate vacuum level and just see what the step-up piston is doing at idle, because we can verify if that's actually in the range anyway. But not being color coded, yeah, don't drop them, don't screw up, don't put them in the same. Like there's the next step up on the Edelbrock, that's the yellow spring. Yeah, so I mean I could put all those springs in one deal. There's the pink, there's the silver, there's the orange spring, blue and yellow. They're all pretty easy to tell on the Edelbrock side, and I can throw those all back in one hole, no big deal. This one, well, yeah, no way of knowing. They give you some clips, I guess, which is nice, but they look to be too big. They do give you the retention springs for the rod, and they look okay, I guess, but I'd have to test them out, but I'm not going to. I will call this an absolute failure. Well, it's easy to see why, one, he was confused because this kit does not contain all of the pieces to work with all of those carburetors, so it wasn't going to work on his carburetor. But even if he had gotten lucky and had a 1406 and he was trying to calibrate with this, there's just too many things that are wrong with that. I will verify the hole sizes on the jets, but who knows how they turn out. Even if they're perfect, that one rod being off, and I will measure the other two and leave them here in the on an overlay so you know what the results were there. I won't bore you with that. But yeah, this is the reason why you don't buy these Chinese kits. I know $16 sounds good, especially when these calibration kits are upwards of $60, $70 right now, inflation, cost of materials, but you're just going to frustrate yourself with this one. Same with the, we did the video on the Chinese rebuild kit and all the things that were funky with that and jacked up with it. It just went into the trash. It was a waste of money, and I'm afraid if somebody buys this thinking it's going to fit any one of those carburetors, even the 1406, they're going to be disappointed. So anyway, tell me what you think in the comments down below. If you've worked with Chinese stuff and you're happy with it, especially when it comes to this. I didn't see any other brand, but I wasn't going to spend, $100 buying a bunch of crappy Chinese kits that didn't work. I guess I can throw out everything in here and use the case for something. Anyway, if you got any comments, leave them down below. I'll be happy to answer them. Yeah, just go ahead and get yourself the Edelbrock calibration kit. You're not gonna be disappointed with it. The sizes the way are where they're supposed to be. We've proven that. And yeah, just too many things here. So if you got any questions, don't hesitate, leave them down below, and we'll get with you guys on the next video. We'll see you.